Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Venugopal, Secretary of DIJA. I welcome you all to this program. We are conducting this event because what we face the situation has no precedence. In this pandemic crisis, the future is quite uncertain and gloomy and quite unknown. A fear psychosis has gripped everywhere, and most affected are middle income groups, the salaried persons. The purpose to hold this uh, program is to instill a feeling of togetherness and to discuss how to tide over the situation. So what we'll do if our regular income got disrupted, because we are literally in a war zone and our survival is the priority now. Luckily, we have Pradeep Kumar here and who got 35-year-long career in the banking industry, starting his career in Reserve Bank of India, then to IOB, Axis Bank, and IndusInd Bank, and finally voluntarily retired as Vice President and State Head of HDFC. HDFC, we all know it's a biggest bank, private sector bank in India. Its CMD Aditya Puri has created it so big, and it got a market capitalization of nearly about 7 crore Indian rupees. And he has made many investors to multi-millionaires. When its share price listed in 1995, it was only rupees 4. Now it is rupees 1200. It's 300-fold increase. So Mr. Pradeep Kumar was his colleague and he inherited the tradition, and he will advise us the right decisions which will take our investment to exponential height. I welcome you, sir. And then I'll pass it on to Krishna Priya, and I thank everyone. And Krishna Priya is daughter of Pradeep Kumar, engineer by profession. And over to you, Krishna Priya.
Hi, thank you for your kind words, Mr. Venugopal. Good evening, everyone. Not often does one get a chance like this to introduce their father to an audience. As Mr. Venugopal has already mentioned, my father has more than 35 years of experience in working in the Indian banking sector. So, in this sector, he had the opportunity to manage not only his money, but also to closely and dispassionately observe the management, or I can say mostly mismanagement of finance by people around him. By virtue of his personality, he is blessed with a clarity of thought and from his mistakes, but also of others, without value judging the person across the table. So today, he brings to us this abundant experience of life and financial decisions that can literally make or break one's peace of mind. In 2018, he decided to take an early retirement to devote his energy to leave a lasting impact on the lives of people around him. Currently, he dedicates most of his time for social causes. He's a certified trainer and has practiced financial discipline throughout his life. As his daughter, I have witnessed in firsthand how implementing financial planning in day to day life has helped him lead a fruitful and fulfilling life. Today, on our request, philanthropist Pradeep Kumar dons his old financial expert hat to share his insights on personal finance and investments. So, without further ado, let me welcome my role model to share his insights on the topic today.
Good evening. I think I can start now. Okay. I think everybody's on mute. So, first of all, I wish to express my thanks to Ajit and for giving me an opportunity to address your team. In fact, a few of my friends have also joined this program from different.
Audio is muted.
Sir, mute type, sir.
Okay. So a few of my friends have also joined this program. I have taken permission from Mr. Ajit for them to join this program, though they are not a part of Disha. It's very interesting to discuss about personal finance across people who have been facing a lot of difficulties in these COVID times. This has been, in fact, a matter of discussion for me as well as many of our team for the last about 8-9 months. How to handle the situation of COVID, how to overcome the situation of COVID, how to be good enough in our life managing the finance whenever there is a contingency, whenever there is a problem, whenever there is an issue. Actually, if at all we look back, I think in almost all of our past experience, I don't think we would have come across such a critical situation in life where people cannot go out, people cannot meet, people cannot interact, people cannot have a personal connection except for these virtual meetings. So COVID has, in fact, helped us to learn a lot of things. Probably we need to unwind whatever we have wound up over a period of time. We had to unwind, we had to relearn, we have to unlearn and relearn and all those things in the last 8 months. We have been forced to look into what we are doing, what we are not doing, what we should not do, what we should do, and all those things. So that way, it has been a very interesting time period, if at all we look at things in a positive way. So I think I'll come on to my topic, and then since just I would like to give a couple of points on clarifying Mr. Sri Venugopal, who has given a background of SDFC Bank. SDFC Bank, in fact, has come into existence in 1994. And Aditya Puri, who has been the CEO, has just retired about a few days back. And the share price of SDFC Bank is now 1,200, as he told is correct. But when compared to the original one, the share price of SDFC Bank initially was the face value of the share was 10 rupees, and currently the face value is 1 rupee. So 1,200 rupees is to be treated as 12,000 rupees of 1995. So that is so we can imagine. So it's 1,200. What we see now is actually 12,000 rupees of 1995, because in 1995 one share was 10 rupees. If that 10 rupee face value is continuing all throughout till now, the price of the share would have been 12,000 rupees. So you can imagine what is the magnitude of the increase in the share price of the company. And similar, we have similar banks which got private banking license in that same period of time, like ICICI Bank.
Increase to it?
Yeah, excuse me.
You're muted again.
Sorry, I think some of my voice got lost. So HDFC Bank, the current price is 1,200 rupees, which is actually 12,000 rupees of 1995, because the face value of the share has been split into 1/10 of its original value. So the other banks like ICICI Bank and Axis Bank earlier it was known as UTI Bank, and then IndusInd Bank also, they all got license almost in the same period. And these banks' share prices are much lower than what HDFC Bank is having now. The market cap of the bank is 6,51,000 crores. So 6,51,000 crores. So that is not a small amount. And interestingly enough, I would like to just mention one point. When Aditya Puri sold a few shares according to him, not according to us, he sold some of his, but I think about 94% of his holding some 2 months back. And it has actually resulted in some sort of crash in the market for the price of the shares of the bank. And when somebody interviewed him and asked him, sir, you have sold shares of the bank where you were the CEO, and it has actually resulted in some sort of negative sentiment in the market. Then Mr. Puri told a very interesting statement. Mr. Puri told that, in private sector banks, we don't have a pension scheme. So as a human being, I should also have some money to live, money to put on my retirement life. And the interviewer lady was smiling all throughout when she heard Mr. Puri telling this statement. The interesting factor is that Puri sold shares worth 840 crores. It was not a small amount. So he was telling that he wanted some money for retirement, and he has sold shares worth 840 crores. So that is something which is interesting when people of that level interacts with other people, and how they look at money as a whole. Now I think we are basically talking to a group of people, who are actually interested in philanthropy related social activities and social commitments. So naturally, the outlook of money by the audience in this group should be slightly different from what we see from a business angle. So as a young person, when I was studying, we had very less cars in the road. So one of my neighbors had an ambassador car. Another person in our area had a Fiat. So these were the two cars in Kerala during the time. I'm talking about the late 1970s or early 80s. The number of cars were very less. So we are all traveling by bus, all rush, and most of us know what is happening in the private buses plying in this state of Kerala. So I was thinking why some people have money and why some doesn't have money. This was a question which I have been, which has been haunting me for a very, very long time. Till I found some answers. I don't know which is whether the answer is correct even today, but still I have some clarity on my doubt as of now. So I have one interesting question for you, which has again been haunting me for the last so many years. And I think most of you who are in UAE are working in different firms, or probably doing some sort of professional consultancy or professional dealing in their area of operation, or probably doing some business. But why should we work? This is a question which I have been trying to answer for a very long time. Why should we work? I have asked this question to so many people, and so many people have asked me this question also whenever we go for some training classes or something like that. So the main motive when we approach this question is that the ultimate goal in life is happiness. People say, I want to be happy. I want the world to be happy. We always say, Loka samasta sugino bhavandu. As being an Indian, we proudly say, Loka samasta sugino bhavandu. So let the world be happy, let me be happy, let the family be happy, everybody be happy. But what is happiness? Where does it lie? So happiness, satisfaction, these are all some points which we always tell, but it is totally not tangible. We cannot see where happiness lies, where satisfaction lies, and all those things. So I have been asking somebody, where is happiness? So somebody told, if you have money, you have happiness. If you have wealth, you have happiness. If you have a status, you have happiness. If you are properly engaged and if you are able to do well, I mean, you have good health, you have happiness. If you are able to do something which gives you satisfaction, it is happiness. Maybe for KJ Yesudas, Dr. KJ Yesudas, the Gana Gandharvan of our place, happiness will be when he is able to sing a song with perfection. Or Sachin Tendulkar will be happy when he is able to make a good, a very authentic century in a match. Or APJ Abdul Kalam or E. Sridharan will be happy when they are able to make a commitment, when they are able to fulfill their commitment on the function or the project which they are handling. So where does the satisfaction comes from? Satisfaction is, as I told, is a very intangible subject. But the thing is that money has some part to play in the satisfaction of a person, happiness of a person. Without money, it is difficult to be happy. Without money, it is difficult to accomplish things. Without money, many of our dreams will not be fulfilled. So in this current world, money is critical. But money is critical, but that doesn't mean that money should rule you. It is told that we have seen ships sailing in water. The water is the platform for the ship to sail. But if the water enters the ship, then you are in trouble. The ship is in trouble. So if the money tries to rule you, then you are in trouble. You should be able to rule the money which you have. You should be able to control the money which you have. You should be able to utilize the money which you have. So to the audience, which I would like to basically inform that money is something which should be working for you. There's a very interesting definition for money. There are a lot of definitions for money. If you many of the audience will be with economics or finance or management background. So mostly we know what is money. But the most interesting definition which I have been appreciating, which I have been interested to know about, is the definition by Mr. F.A. Walker. The definition says, money is what money does. So that is a very critical statement, very interesting statement. And many of our people have a lot of money, but the money doesn't do anything for them. So money is what money does. If you have a lot of money in the bank and you don't buy food, you will starve. So in that case, the money doesn't do good work for the person. If you have a lot of money in the bank and you don't take proper medication, then you will be a patient. You will ultimately lose your health. And if you have money in the bank, but still don't construct a good house and stay in a comfort, you will be, your health will be ruined, your status will be ruined, and so much and so forth. So money is required, and we have to ensure that money works for you. It's a very critical statement, as I told. It's a very important thing which many of our people, or especially youngsters, doesn't really understand what how money can work for us. That is something which I would like to mainly emphasize in this session. What is that we require money for? What is that we require money for? We have a lot of goals in our life. We have financial goals, personal goals. We have academic goals. We have career goals, and so many things. For financial goals, we have a general bifurcation of things. As a finance background person, we'll always see that the financial goals are bifurcated into short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. Short-term goals are something which we require money in the immediate future. We have to buy food, we have to pay the electricity bill, we have to pay the telephone bill, we have to fill fuel in our car. All those things are short-term goals which we need to have an immediate payment of money. If you see medium-term goals, which is normally defined, but it can be that that period of medium can be different with different ideas or different segments. So medium, what I mean is that it is something between 6 months to 3 years or 2 to 3 years. So you buying a car is a medium-term goal. Buying furniture and consumer durables for the house is a medium-term goal. Going for a vacation is a medium-term goal. Supporting the marriage of a relative is a medium-term goal. While you have long-term goals, if you have to have a house, it's a long-term goal because it's a very expensive matter. If you have to manage children's education, especially grown-up children's education after they graduate, after they complete their +2 level, it's a it's a long-term goal. Or you plan for retirement, it's a long-term goal. Or even daughter's marriage. When I say there can be a lot of confusions among the gender equality issues. Why a son's marriage is not seriously seen as a long-term goal, while daughter's marriage is seen as a long-term goal. Nowadays in our society, daughter's marriage is usually is treated to be an expenditure of the bride's parents. So that way I'm treating that as daughter's marriage. But in fact, it's a marriage in the family where you need to spend fairly good money, because I'm talking about the non-COVID situation. Now, we are not supposed to have so much of people coming for the marriage. We should have only 20 people, 50 people, and all those things. And since the usage of money itself has changed over a period of time, which needs to be especially addressed. So I'm not talking about the COVID situation. I'm talking about the general situation which has been prevailing in our country for the last so many years. So so these are all long-term goals. Any confusions about this? Of course, I have been talking for about last 15 minutes, and I think none of you have asked any question. Is there any question? You can come up immediately, no issues, or I can even address questions at the end. So these are the financial bifurcations when we plan about the financial goals.
If I may interrupt,
Yeah.
I just want to ask, like, if I need to buy a flat or if I need to buy a car, I just can go buy them. Why do you consider it as a medium-term goal? Like, why isn't a short-term goal?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. If you want to buy a car, you can simply go to the showroom and buy a car.
Yeah.
You pay some 10% or 5% down payment. The balance will be you will be able to pay it on equated monthly installments. Similarly, if you can fix up a flat or a house, not construction of a house, I mean, if you can fix up to buy a house as it is, again, you can simply pay out the money and then get an EMI. You can get a loan from many of the financial institutions available here, and it is just over in a matter of 6 months or less than 6 months. So why it is termed differently? I'm telling it I'm classifying it in medium term for a car loan, because we normally take a car loan for 4 to 5 years. So it can, I think even car loan companies are giving up to 7 years or something in India. So actually the financial commitment gets over only after the loan gets liquidated. That means the commitment stays over for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. So it's a medium-term commitment. In medium term, it gets over, it gets liquidated. Similarly, for a house, normally, depending on the age of the person who is buying the house, or probably depending on the financial position of the buyer of the house, usually people take a 15-year-old or 15-year long or 20-year long financial commitment for a house. So ultimately, though we are acquiring the house immediately, or though we are buying the car immediately, the financial commitment extends to a longer period, which comes in the medium and longer term. So that's why I have classified it as a medium-term commitment as well as a long-term commitment. I think it clears your question, right?
Yes, it is clear. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So we have financial goals, and this money is basically required to meet our financial goals. So is money only useful to complete our financial goals or fulfill our financial goals? That's another question. Interestingly enough, money works differently with different people in different circumstances. We know electricity. Electricity comes in a 2 or 3 wires into our house. But when it passes through a tube light, you get light. When it passes through an electric fan, it rotates and gives you what you call a breeze. When it passes through a refrigerator, the occupied space gets cooled down. When it passes through a heater, it heats up the entire space. So it functions differently at different places with different people. Similarly, money is different for different people. Gold is different for different people. For a bride, gold is a status of her, a symbol of her status. While for a goldsmith, it's a raw material for his day-to-day activities. For a jewelry owner, it's a commodity which is going to sell. So similar people, different people have different ideas about the same product. Similarly, money is food for somebody, money is shelter for somebody, money is health for somebody, money is a commitment for somebody, money is philanthropy for somebody, money is life for somebody, money is just enjoyment for somebody. So money is looked at in different angles, in different ways by different people. So when I'm coming to a person who is earning a medium term earnings in our present day condition, what is the style of usage of money? What is the percentage we should allocate for different activities? That's where financial planning starts. So why should we have a financial planning at all? That's another interesting question which will come up as of now when we are talking about finance. I mean, the money matters, when we are talking about how money matters to a person. Financial planning gives you financial freedom. Many people doesn't have financial freedom because their planning is not that perfect. When you know what is going to be your EMI, which is to be paid out next month, naturally, you will be planning to keep that sort of money separate for fulfilling that commitment. It's a part of financial planning. But most of the people, especially in this COVID times, many people really went out of order. We could see roller coaster rides in financial matters for different people. The whole thing was falling like a meteor. It was just falling down because the income was not there. The expenditure was not really getting controlled. So the commitment for different financial commitments were not really addressed. So financial freedom is one of the best possible things when you really do financial planning. We can utilize our money in an optimum way. That's another useful thing when you do financial planning. We can also mitigate the risk involved in the money we handle, because many of our people recently also we have seen one of the private bankers, private means the NBFCs falling, shattering down, and people getting arrested and all those things because of the bad financial management of the company. So what will happen to the 2,000 crores amount invested by different people basically across the state of Kerala in such a finance company? So what is the risk involved when you are investing in different financial instruments? So I'll come to that slowly. Now, as a normal person, as a person who is earning a fixed amount of money, we have two different things to think about. Basically, when we try to put up a balance sheet or a profit and loss statement, profit and loss statement doesn't restrict only to corporates. It happens for us also. Though it is not a profit and loss statement, it's income and expenditure statement. We have two heads in the balance sheet. One is income and one is the expenditure. And not in the balance sheet, in the profit and loss or the final accounting structure. So we have an income, we have an expenditure. We have a lot of expenditure and we have limited income. To be frank like that, the number of expenditure heads are very high, very, very large, while the income is limited. Usually we have income from salary, if you're an employed person, income from profession, if you're a professional, income from business for a businessman, income from commission, if you're an agent or you're doing your activities on commission basis. So you have limited income structures. It is possible that you have a place rented out and you get some rent out of that. It is possible that you have a fixed deposit and you get some interest out of that. You have some shares and you get dividends out of that. So all such incomes are possible. But basically, if you see, the number of income heads are low. But if you see the expenditure heads, it's too much. You have to spend money for food. You have to fill petrol. That means for transportation. You have to pay the electricity bill. You have to pay the mobile bill. You have to pay the rent if you're staying in a rented house. You have to pay EMIs. You have to pay that. Hundreds of expenditure heads. But you have very limited income sources. So how to match these two in between? And in between, how will you manage to have some surplus money? That's $1 million question. And that is where the financial planning comes into picture. And that is where, as I told in the initial part of my speech, that some people are traveling in cars and some people are walking in the road. I have seen people in the same office with same salary or similar salary, but in totally different financial positions. Some people stay in luxurious houses, palatial houses, where other people try to restrict themselves in a very crammed, untidy atmosphere. Some people travel in luxurious or costly cars, and they wear a costly dress, while the other people find it difficult to manage even a normal transportation or to wear even a branded apparel. So ultimately, the financial planning comes into picture and actually saves money for the person who actually prudently approaches this activity. Ideally, it is told we should have 3 different things. And when I say, I think this meeting doesn't require an introduction of a person called Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is one of the richest personalities in the world. He is a very simple living personality, owns a lot of companies.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
Can I leave? I have a team meeting.
Yeah. As you please.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
for
thank
being
you.
with us till now. Yeah. Back to Warren Buffett. So what he does is that he slowly accumulates the shares of a company. He identifies some company and then slowly accumulates the shares of the company and finally buys the company as it is. And Warren Buffett has told a very interesting statement which he has done, which he has made. I think that is something which we all should be seriously looking at. Incidentally, though I was not aware about his statement almost 30 years back, but I'm a person who has practiced that unknowingly in my life. But I heard about Warren Buffett's statement only around 10 years or 8 years back. Then I found, when I looked back, I found that I have been one of the persons probably was practicing what he was telling. His statement is that when you have an income, you should first save. The balance money only you should spend. It's a very tough statement for when you really listen to it. You should first save, and if you have balance, then only you should spend. So if you get 1,000 rupees with you, and if you plan to save 500 rupees, you first keep that aside, the balance 500 only you should spend. So it is very a tough decision for a person. And interestingly, I'm a little proud to tell, while I was working in the bank, I used to keep recurring deposits to start my investments, start my savings. And the recurring deposits was almost 70% of my take-home pay. So my friends used to make fun of me, telling that, oh, this fellow will never have money for anything because he has only for keeping, depositing in recurring deposits. Well, there is an old story which happened about some 30 years back. But I find now the financial comfort which I'm having as of now, enjoying as of now, has really started from there. So Warren Buffett tells you should save first and then spend. So what should be your savings? What should be your expenditure? So again, I'll do a certain bifurcation here. That is, savings is one segment. Then the expenditure is in two different segments. One is the needs, the other one is termed as wants. It's basically most of the financial planning people, they come out with these statements. One is needs, the other one is wants. I can give some examples for that. Savings, of course, I did not tell what is savings. Needs is the bare minimum requirement for our subsistence. As it is told, it includes food, it includes rent, or it includes our basic EMI for our housing facilities, or the payment which we need to do for our car, or the transportation, or clothing, or similar, all of such similar expenditure. It comes under needs. They're the basic things which you require to live in this world comfortably. Comfortably means not luxuriously, it's comfortably. Then wants is something which is slightly beyond that. Wants, that category takes you into a slightly luxurious situations or slightly comfortable situations. You want to go for a vacation, it comes under wants. You have to have a luxurious car, it comes under wants. Similarly, something which is not all that required, but you can have it depending on what is your income level. So it is told that ideally, to start with, maybe in the first 10 years of your employment, 10 years of your earning starting or of your earning money, the savings you should have is not less than 30% of your gross income. Needs can be 50% and wants can be 20%. This is an ideal bifurcation. It can be plus or minus 5 here and there. It doesn't make a difference. But if you have more wants, your savings will come down. If you have more needs, your savings will come down. Or you can interchange between needs and wants. That also is possible by keeping the 30% savings intact. But probably if you go beyond 10 years of your earning status, you can slowly increase the savings component. You can bring down, then since your income level goes up, the needs can normally come down to 40%. Probably your wants will go up to 30%. So still you can save that 30% of your earnings. But 30% of the earnings after 10 years of your initial employment will naturally be almost double of what you're earning 10 years back. So that way you will be much more, you will be saving much more. Then there can be some questions about how you will account for the EMI. EMIs for housing loans and other things. I basically tell housing loans can be treated as a saving in the saving category, because house is a saving. Usually when we buy houses or when we acquire houses or flat or whatever it is, you will be able to sell it at a higher price. But for car, I don't give that status, because cars you buy it 10 lakhs, naturally after 2-3 years you sell it 5 lakhs. So you really pay for some depreciation. But houses, you don't normally pay for depreciation. Houses, building as such, there can be some depreciation, but including the land, the prices of a residential property is on the increase. That is a normal status which we come across. Fair enough. So I'm going to the basic thing again about the income and expenditure. So we have income, expenditure, and something in between, that is savings. Now I have told why we should have savings and what is that we are saving for. So when we come to income, as I told, income, we have only very few heads. Just like that, we cannot increase our income. Just like that, we cannot get into a business or get into some activity where the income just like that goes up. But the expenditure has no such morality. Rather, it simply comes. It just comes to you like a thunder or a lightning. It takes away many of you things. It's like an earthquake or a landslide. It simply comes. Once one person goes to a hospital and probably drains off all the year's savings in one shot. So the expenditure is something which is totally difficult for you to handle. And that is where the prudence of financial planning lies. We always think that the rich are rich because they have a lot of income. But I personally say the rich are rich because they spend less. We should always see Narayana Murthy, but maybe 15 years back, when I have read an article, he was telling that his household expenditure, Narayana Murthy, I don't need to introduce him. The founder of, one of the founders of Infosys, whose I think worth is a few, 10,000 crores or about 10,000, a few 10,000s of crores. And Narayana Murthy was telling his household expenditure per month is 7,000 rupees. Imagine 7,000 rupees. I think I have read this article somewhere in 2004 or 2005. A person who earns maybe a few crores a month spends 7,000 rupees. So that's why he's rich. Another lady who is a Keralite, one of the stalwarts of Infosys, the wife of one of the stalwarts of Infosys, that is Chris Gopalakrishnan, his wife. I read in paper one day, she contributed some money for charity. She said most of these people are doing a lot of money for philanthropy, and Mrs. Chris Gopalakrishnan has contributed some money for charity. And imagine what is the amount? It was 100 crores. 100 crores. That was her one lot of contribution long time back for charity. So this is the level of money they have, and this is the way they spend money. Okay, now what I'm telling is that controlling expenditure is the most critical thing while you have a financial comfort, while you have to work towards a financial comfort. Now, again, expenses, I would like to divide it into two types of expenditure. One is controllable expenditure. The other one is non-controllable expenditure. We can intuitively check what is a controllable expenditure, what is a non-controllable expenditure. I think some of you can give some examples, because I think everybody has been listening, and I would like if some of you can unmute and then come across with some ideas of controllable or uncontrollable expenditure. Please, even Ajit, you can also come out with some suggestions or some comments on that. I think you are not, you are muted already.
Uncontrollable expense means it indicates our basic requirement, which we cannot control at all. For example, our daily expenses.
Okay.
And controllable expenses are those expenses which we spend as for a bit of a luxury. For example, the frequency of watching movies, frequency of going for foreign tours, those things we can, of course, control.
Sure. I think it's a fairly good answer. I'll make it a little more precise with some more examples. Somebody else would like to speak on that?
Yeah, Rohit has written their medical bills. That is uncontrollable expenditure.
Exactly.
Rental expense is an uncontrollable expense.
Yes, good. Yeah, I'll come. One interesting thing I would like to, because I try to see everything in an angle of income and expenditure, and how people are made to spend and how people are not aware when they really spend. You make a list and go to Lulu Mall. I think Lulu Mall is everywhere. We make a list of things we want to buy from Lulu Mall, but you come back and then see how many things you bought. If you have a list of 10 items in the list, finally you will come back with 35 items at home. And I'm sure by end of the month, you will realize at least 8 to 10 items are never used up. These have gone waste. You have seen so many things stacked up in the rack, beautifully kept. So you're tempted to buy it. I always say when we used to talk about things, there's a very interesting statement by Oscar Wilde, that I can withstand anything but temptations. I can withstand anything but temptations. So we are all tempted to buy. That's why the advertisement, the media advertisements are so expensive nowadays, because they sell everything. They even sell sand in a desert, and even water. In Kerala, I say a place where 300 centimeters of rain falls every year, but still water is being sold. The drinking water is being sold. So where is our management of things? And well, I'm not going into the governmental activity of this type of management. Am I running out of time, or no? I'm not sure. I have not really checked the time as of now. Can I continue now?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Fine.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So, so I have an answer from Mr. Balakrishnan telling there is a thin line between controllable and uncontrollable expenditure. It's true. So I am just giving a very, very common controllable expenditure, which we don't really notice. Is that similarly, we try to give some gifts to somebody. It's a controllable expenditure. You can give a gift for 10,000 rupees. You can give a gift for 5,000 rupees. You can give a gift for 1,000 rupees. But most interesting factor is that whenever you go to a very wealthy person, you give a very valuable, very costly.
That's correct.
And when you go to a poor man, you give a very small value, low value gift. But actually, it should be on the other ways around, because the rich man doesn't require money, or he doesn't require a valuable gift, while the person who is a poor man, probably if at all you are going to visit him, will appreciate something which is valuable for him. Well, So this controllable and non-controllable expenditure is something which is very, very critical in a man's financial management. So how to understand the controllable and uncontrollable expenditure? The basic thing, which I'm just telling just one thing which will help you to identify and control your expenditure. Simply for the next 3 months, you simply write down each and every expenditure which you incur. Simply write down in a paper. You put the date, item, amount. Say groceries, 600 rupees. Vegetables or something else, meat, 200 rupees. You buy some other provisions, this much rupees. Petrol or diesel, whatever it is, this much rupees. Electricity payment, this much rupees. You put the date and simply write down. You simply go on writing for 3 months. Then you take it on a monthly averages. You find that the expenditure structure is almost same. Then you simply go through, you categorize it as food, rent, travel, luxury, something like that, miscellaneous. Then you actually divide or compare it in 3 months' time. I'm telling you, I'm 100% sure you will be able to reduce your expenditure by 20 to 25%. Simple one exercise will do. This I have done. What I'm telling is that whatever I'm telling here is something which I have done in my life and I have practiced in my life and still practicing in my life. And I found these are beneficial to control your expenditure and know what is happening in your life in finance. And many of the people you ask, they have no clue about what is your monthly expenditure. They have no clue about, they know what is the salary, but what is the other income which they are having? What is the other income they are getting from fixed deposits, if at all they have, or from dividends, or from some other things? So what is the total annual income, or what is the total annual expenditure? Nobody has a clue. Many of the people doesn't have a clue. How many kilometers your car runs? What is the expenditure for fuel? What is the expenditure for service? I am telling you, 90% of the people have no clue about this. They have not probably given seriousness to find out what is the level of expenditure which they incur for each and every item. So that is where, so controllable and uncontrollable expenditure. So when you control your expenditure, your savings level goes up. I told you we have to have 30% savings, a minimum of 30% savings. And for probably a person who gets fairly large income can go to 50, 60% savings. I know people who are saving 80% of their salary. 80% of their salary is being saved. Huge money. 80% salary means if they work for 1 month, another 4 months is free for them because they can meet all their EMIs, expenditure, and other things with that 1 month salary. So in a year, totally they require hardly to work for 2.5 months. And if it continues for 5 years, the next rest of their life is free. So that is how people handle things. So there are people who are handling like that. Well, now I'm coming to a different concept of money. We have been telling that we have to work hard or we have to do well and all those things to make money. Now I think, do you think that Mukesh Ambani is doing his work to make money? Do you think that Mr. Narayana Murthy is doing his work to make money? Do you think that Adani is doing his work for making money? Do you think that Mr. Yusuf Ali is doing his work to make money? No. The answer is simple no. Because they have money for generations and generations together. I think 3 years or 4 years back, I have read Mr. Asim Premji telling, I have worked so hard, I have money for at least about 10, 12 generations. I think I should not have been spending that much time in the office. Even I think in the one statement of, I think, Steve Jobs or somebody, almost when he was in his deathbed. So it is told, you should work, you should have money, but so much of money is not required for a person. So what is that so much of money? What is the excess of money you have? So what I'm coming is a new concept of money, not a new concept, probably a concept which is not usually never told by people. According to me, we should start earning money. We should go on having some savings. You should have a comfortable level of savings. Once that level is reached, then what happens? Then you should sit idle, and you should see that you should ensure that the money works for you. That's what Ambani is doing. That's what Mr. Yusuf Ali is doing. That's what Narayana Murthy is doing. That's what so many people are doing. Some point of time, you will reach a place, you reach a structure when the money works for you. The money you have accumulated, it works for you. So you should invest in proper segments where it works comfortably for you. It cushions out all the uncertainties which you are facing. So money should work for you. So that is what my message I wanted to impart in this meeting is that we should come to a level when the money works for you. When you need not work, but the money should work for you. So that is a level when you have reasonable savings. But the reasonable means the definition is different with different people. As I told Mr. Aditya Puri, the reasonable money for retirement is 840 crores. But somebody else, it can be 84 lakhs. Somebody, it can be 8 crores. Somebody, it can be 50 lakhs. Somebody, it can be 10 lakhs. So it all depends on what type of life we are going to live after retirement or after the point when the money starts working for you. So when money works for you, you are relaxed. Because you need not go to the office. You need not try and struggle for the deadlines. Because money works for you. You have a fixed deposit of 1 crore. I'm not talking about the tax part of it. So 6 lakh rupees comes into your account. You have shares of some large companies. Huge amount of dividend comes into your account. I know my colleagues in HDFC Bank who gets dividend alone 25 lakhs in a year. Not very senior people. I'm telling about slightly senior people, but not all that serious like Aditya Puri. But in the second level people who gets 25 lakhs rupees as dividends. Imagine. When you get 25 lakh rupees as dividend, then why should you go and work? I know a person who is just about 45 years old in our bank, who is no more working with the bank now. He is doing some philanthropy related activities. He quit the bank when he was about 42. So before quitting, what he did, he constructed a flat in Trivandrum with about 14 or 15 apartments. 2 apartments he kept it for himself, and the all other 13 flats he has given it on rent. None of the flats, he has not taken a single rupee loan for the flat. He has made it from his own investment, his own earnings. So he earns something like 2.5 to 3 lakhs every month on the rent part of it, even after tax, even after paying the real tax. So the money works for him. Similarly, a lot of people are doing things where the money works for them. So this is where we have to learn the art of managing money. Having said so, I have 2 specific things which I would like to tell in this meeting, which is going to be a very, very critical thing when you are handling your personal finance. This I am telling basically in view of the contingencies, the issues came out of the situation created by COVID across the globe. We should always, from the savings, we should always create a contingency fund. Contingency fund is an emergency fund. So many people, as I told, now somebody gets into a hospital, you pay the bill and come out bankrupt. You have your salary stopped for a couple of months due to COVID or something like that, or you lost your job, you are changing your job, whatever it is. Your salary, your income level depletes for a couple of months, then you are in trouble. Your EMIs are pending, the financiers are knocking at your door. You have lots of status issues, social issues, and whatnot. People go into deep depression. Some people commit suicide. So many things. We have seen so many things happening around. Bad financial planning actually leads you to such situations. Contingency fund is a very, very critical thing. You should always have a contingency fund, which is a liquid, when I talk liquid fund or liquid money, that means something which can be accessed immediately. Something which is kept in a bank, even if it is a fixed deposit, or even if it is in a savings bank account, you can immediately go and take it. Or there are other mutual fund possibilities where something called liquid funds are there, where you can immediately withdraw the money. So those are, what I'm telling is that this contingency fund should be kept in immediately withdrawable status. You should not be keeping it in a portfolio where there's a lock-in period, 5-year lock-in period, 6-year lock-in period. So this contingency fund doesn't actually, should not be kept in such lock-in period type of investment opportunities. You should not buy a plot of land telling that I'll sell it whenever there is a contingency. It is not possible, because selling land takes so much of time, so much of formality, so much of negotiations and all those things. So contingency funds should be kept in a bank or in liquid funds, liquid mutual funds, or in similar situation where you can immediately go and withdraw money. That is something which one should have. Naturally, there can be a question: what is the amount of contingency fund you should have? Contingency fund is ideally termed. It's ideally termed. It's not a hard and fast rule that you should have a 6 months expenditure as contingency fund. 6 months expenditure. Now I am coming again to the statement which I have told a few minutes before, that you should know what is your expenditure in a month. So if 6 months expenditure, I am telling to keep 6 months expenditure as a contingency fund, you should first know what is your expenditure level for 6 months. So if your expenditure level in a month is 25,000 rupees, you should have a contingency fund of 1.5 lakh rupees. If your expenditure level is 50,000 rupees a month, you should have a contingency fund ideally for 3 lakh rupees. So this gives a lot of cushion for you. Somebody falls sick, the income level stops, so you are getting some rent, and the tenant vacates and a new tenant comes on board only after 2-3 months. Your income level goes ups and down. So these contingencies will be covered comfortably with this contingency fund. Even if you go out of funds totally for 6 months, nothing will happen. Definitely, we being human beings with reasonable prudence and wisdom, we will be able to switch over to something which will give you some reasonable income within a period of 6 months. So 6 months, I think, is an ideal time to keep this contingency fund. The other one is that insurance. Insurance is a highly debatable thing. I don't know how many of our this meeting mates are dealing with insurance. There are a lot of misconceptions on insurance. One should have definitely life insurance cover. Life insurance cover ideally is 10 years income. 10 years income. If somebody gets 1 lakh rupees a year, 1 lakh rupees a month as income, the ideal life insurance cover for that person for that level is 1.2 lakh gross. So then again, you will ask me a question. You will have to pay a huge premium. But insurance, I always say, is insurance. And normally the people who are working in insurance sector, they sell insurance as an investment. I'm a person, I don't know how many of such persons will object me on that. I personally feel, and I personally tell, insurance is insurance and investment is investment. These two are totally different. Let us not compare apples with oranges. So apples are apples and oranges are oranges. So they have two different functions to do. Insurance is a contingent or it's a fund the insurance company is going to give in case of a casualty. Insurance company doesn't replace people. They only give some money, the agreed amount of money. So who should have an insurance? That's another interesting question. I have seen one of my relatives, a lady who was around 50 years old, who was not working, not earning, took an insurance for 10 years. And after about 6 years of payment of around around 18 lakhs, 3 lakh rupees. I think the premium she was paying around 3 lakh rupees in a year. After 6 years of payment of insurance premium, she all of a sudden found that the surrender value of that insurance policy was around 6 to 7 lakhs. She has already paid a premium of 18 lakhs. 18 lakhs, that's imagine. And she's not working. She's not earning. Working and earning, there are two different things. A person who is having a rental income need not work, but he'll have earning. He'll have earnings. A person who is having fixed deposits will have earnings, but he'll not be working. And in such cases, even if the person dies or a person doesn't exist, his family will go on getting the income. The rental income will come to his the person's legal heirs. Similarly, fixed deposit income or the dividend income will come to the legal heirs. So the existence of the person is not a big deal. Even if that person exists or doesn't exist, the income will continue to come. So insurance is not required for that person. That's what I'm telling. But if somebody goes to an office, or somebody runs a business, somebody, a doctor or an engineer, does a professional or a chartered accountant, does a professional job and then earns money, he requires insurance. Because that person, in case of death, in case of absence of that person, the family's income gets affected. So insurance is a must. So this is a basic difference between insurance, who should be insured and who should not be insured, who need not be insured. I'm not telling should not be insured. So we should, I always recommend my friends to take a term plan on insurance. I know recently, about a month and a half, so a year and a half before, two persons have, I have arranged through my friend, insurance for two persons. They were about 26 years old and 28-year-old. They had taken insurance for 1 crore rupee cover. And you won't believe what is the premium which they have to pay. It's a term plan. Term plan means you will go on paying the premium, and at the end of the term, you will not get anything back. Your life is covered, that's all, finished. But the amount is very less. If you have to take a policy for 1 crore rupees for a 26-year-old or a 28-year-old person, you have to ideally shell out something like 1 lakh rupees or something like that as premium, annual premium. But the term plan for this particular person's, the premium for the 26-year-old person was 12,500, and for the 28-year-old person was 14,000 rupees. Imagine 14,000 rupees in a year, 1 crore rupee cover. So if you are ready to pay, if you are ready to invest or ready to spend 1 lakh rupees in a year on insurance and investment together, you pay 15,000 rupees towards insurance, 85,000 rupees you invest in elsewhere in some other avenues where you get larger return. So that's what I tell as a financial planner to most of the people. So this is about the insurance. Similarly, one should definitely have a medical insurance, because nowadays medical treatment is very expensive. You have a lot of cashless options available in different companies. So you should have a health insurance also to cover your normal medical contingencies, and you have to pay the premium every year so that your health is covered, your medical expenses, your hospitalization expenditure is covered appropriately. So this is something which I have to tell in between when you are talking about the financial plan. Now I'll come the last segment of my thing. I am coming to different opportunities of investments. So we had told how to save, what is the requirement to save, and if you have some corpus of money, where all we need to invest, where all we need to keep the money in. We know whenever we talk about investment, the first thing which comes to you, to anybody, especially in our area of operation, anybody gets to have an idea, something which comes into their mind is about the bank accounts. We know the savings account now gives around 33% interest. Fixed deposit, 5.5 to 6% interest. So that is the something. That is some. Sorry, these are the some avenues which people are thinking about when they are talking about investments. But there are empty number of other financial instruments where you can invest, which can give you different type of returns, where the risk factor is different. When we talk about the financial segment, the return is proportional to the risk. When the risk is high, the return is high. When the risk is low, the return is low. Very simple statement. So banks, especially public sector banks, is very safe. You put money in State Bank of India, you put money in public sector banks, you put money in banks like HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank or Axis Bank, it is safe. It is 100% safe. It's to be treated as 100% safe. But the returns are very low. The maximum return you can get from fixed deposit is 5.5 or 6%. Of course, it varies. In the current scenario, I'm telling, it's around 5.5 to 6%. Even in some cooperative banks, the risk is slightly higher. You get maybe 1% extra. There are other avenues. I'm talking about mutual funds. Mutual funds gives different type of. We have 100 varieties of mutual fund opportunities available with us. Equity mutual funds, the mutual funds which have larger exposure to stock markets, direct stock markets, they give an annual return of roughly around 9 to 10% now. They used to give very high rate of returns. But if you see the stock market in the last about 5 years or 6 years, maybe from 2014 to 2019, the stock market has gone up by 13%, 130% in a period of 10 years, if you say, from 2010 to 2019, the stock markets in India has gone up by 130%, which gives an average annual yield of 13%. And interestingly enough, another opportunity which all females will be very seriously interested in is to invest in gold. And gold is it a golden opportunity for investment? Well, not quite so. Gold has grown 13.4% in the last 10 years. But this growth was abrupt in a couple of years, which has actually given that average price. Otherwise, gold doesn't really increase in that normal in situations. While stock market has grown only in a negative segment only in 2 years out of the 10 years, and all the other 8 years it has given positive result. Gold has gone bad in 3 to 4 years. But in a couple of years, it gave some 30% increase, which has actually given an average increase, a little more lucrative for gold. But when especially people from our place, Keralites or South Indians, or rather to a certain extent Indians, we spend a lot of money on gold. It is told that the 2-3 finance companies in Kerala, the total gold stock with them for the pledged gold with them exceeds the value of the total GDP of countries like New Zealand. So that is what the financial people say. Well, there is a lot of fascination for this yellow metal. So gold is treated as one of the best investments by people, which I don't personally subscribe. If you really want to go and invest in gold, you should buy gold ETF. ETF is exchange tradable fund, where you get only one paper. You don't get the yellow metal with you. You will get 10 grams of gold, this much rupees, which is valued this much rupees. So you can sell the gold or sell this paper when you really want to sell. And whatever be the price on that particular day, you will get it. It's just like buying a share or something like that. But if you buy ornament, it's very interesting. I'll tell one small story, I think, before I close. I have been talking about Warren Buffett, who is one of the greatest investors in the world, and probably the around sixth or seventh largest, wealthiest man in the world. There's a person called Rakesh Jhunjhunwala in Mumbai, and he's called the Warren Buffett of India. And you won't believe his personal investment in stock market is reported to be around 25,000 crores. It is small money, 25,000 crores. That is personal investment in the stock market. And he's one of the directors of our Geojit Financial Services. And I had very frequently I listen to his speeches in YouTube and like that. So sometime back, maybe around 6 years back, when Geojit actually moved to a new office space in Cochin. During that meeting, Mr. Junjunwala was also there. And I had gone to the meeting exclusively to, with only one intention, that is to listen to him. He had a 20-minute speech. So he told one interesting story in that. He told Keralites, I have a lot of respect for them. They are very smart. They're very neat, well educated. They talk well. They go all over the world. And it is told, if you go to moon, probably they will be there making a tea for you. That's an interesting statement which we have been listening for a long time. But only one thing I don't understand about the Keralites, the Malayalis, the Mallus, in fact. If you give 100 rupees to a normal Mallu person, what he will do? It's an interesting answer he was telling. He's telling that person will walk into a jewelry, pay that 100 rupees, and buy gold worth 80 rupees. You know, we have this depreciation, this panikoli and all those things. Finally, you get gold worth 80 rupees when you pay 100 rupees. So he's very happy. He buy an ornament, which is worth 80 rupees, but he has already spent 100 rupees, losing 20 rupees. So he'll keep that in his pocket, cross the road, go to a financier, pledge this gold for 60 rupees, and go home very happily. So what is happening? Now he is going to pay interest for the 60 rupees. His gold is in with the financier. So he had 100 rupees. Finally, he is left with the 60 rupees, and he has to pay interest for the 60 rupees also. So this is how Keralites do, which I don't really understand about the 100% literary state. So gold, when you invest, you either buy gold bars or gold bullions, not gold ornaments. Gold ornaments definitely is required when you have a marriage, if at all. And nowadays, after COVID, marriage, in any marriage, you cannot have more than 30, 40 people around. And 30, 40 people means your immediate relatives, father, mother, brother, sisters, children, all those things, all those people. You have hardly a person from outside your family. So what is that gold is going to do for you? One needs 500 sovereigns of gold on your neck? I don't know what is the meaning of this step, but still, even after COVID, recently I've been passing in front of one of the most sought after jewelries in our place, and I found that there is no parking space. People are just trying to keep their car here and there. So people are so fascinated about the yellow metal, they spend a lot of money on that. But thing is that, as we told, controllable and uncontrollable expenditure. So where does it come from? So how the money goes? So what is the use of this type of things? But you should definitely have gold. You should definitely have a diamond. But you should see that you don't spend too much on those luxuries, because it doesn't. Somebody, as usually in Malayalam, somebody used to tell, these type of things doesn't give you meals, doesn't give you rice. So that is one thing. So gold, if at all you are investing in a 10-year term, last 10 years from 2010 to 2019, gold was giving a return of 13.4%. And but the gold pricing is quite unstable. You cannot simply go and sell it like what you do in stock market or what you redeem in the mutual fund segment. Then in real estate, it was a very, very sought after segment 3 years back. But unfortunately, due to so many other political or economic reasons in the country, the real estate prices have crashed like anything. Now people are really not worried about real estate. They are very happy with what they have now. Otherwise, people used to give a lot of advances for real estate, investing in land and all those things. And I don't know what people are doing with this land now. The prices have come down by 40%, 50%, 60%, and really no takers nowadays. Especially after the demonetization, this real estate business has collapsed by substantial margin. You know, the reason which I don't want to tell in a public meeting, real estate investments. There can be investment in real estate, but the real estate is not all that liquid. If you really require to construct a house, or if you have a lot of money to invest elsewhere for a long term, probably you can look at some real estate, some good property at some place. But don't ever think that real estate, after some time for sunset education after 1 year or 6 months, you buy a land now and sell it after 6 months and you realize money, which is not really possible nowadays. Well, then different financial instruments I would like to touch upon now is that we have a debt mutual funds. We have debt mutual funds which are investing the money in debt funds. They give at current price, they give 7 to 8% returns, which is much better than the returns available for a fixed deposit. All taxation similar to this thing, and especially I don't know about the taxation in UAE, but the funds generated out of India and spent in India, or invested in India, it has its own, it attracts its own taxation. So I'm not talking about the taxation as such, but the debt mutual funds, they give 7 to 8% return as of now. There's another type of mutual fund which invests in liquid funds, liquid mutual funds. Those liquid funds are short-term funds, where the name itself is because they invest in instruments which are of short-term, 91 days, maximum 91 days instruments, the government bonds and other things, which gives currently which gives around 6 to 6.5%, which also is a better opportunity compared to a fixed deposit. I told about gold. We have a lot of bonds available, government bonds, government-related bonds, and all those things, public sector companies bonds and other things. So these bonds are offering a coupon rate of 8 to 10%. When you invest in bonds, the problem, there are some other nitty-gritties connected to this, some sort of strings connected to that. It basically because you need to lock in the money for a fixed term of time. Also, you need to have a minimum amount of 5 lakh or 10 lakh rupees as an investment. So bonds, there are different bonds available in the market, which pays you around 8 to 10% interest rate. Then there is something called non-convertible debentures. These are all bonds by private sector corporates, which also gives around 8 to 11% interest. The interests are normally paid out in a year, sometimes quarterly, sometimes half yearly. But again, you have to lock in your money for 5 years or 3 years or something like that. So it's a long-term commitment. So first thing, before we really go and do investments, as I told you, we have to have a contingency fund which is liquid, which should be in a position, which should be in a status where you can withdraw it at any point of time, any time of emergency. You have to classify your funds in which all way you need to use it. So we have actually come across a general percentage of distribution about this type of funding, how you should spend your money, how you should keep your money in different portfolios. I can tell generally, I'm telling about generally, but it all depends on person to person. There are other financial comforts, wealth situations, health situations, and all those things actually influence a lot of the decision of all of those things. Ideally, one should have something like a 20% of their investable funds in in the liquid category. Liquid category in the bins where you can withdraw fairly fast, because if you have to pay some advance for a building or you have to make some contingency requirements, you should have 20% of your funds in a liquid form. That is basically in liquid mutual funds or bank deposits or mutual funds like that, where you can withdraw it fairly quickly. Then out of the remaining 80%, some 60% can be. That means 75% of those funds can be in equity-related investments. While I tell about equity-related investment, it can be mutual funds, it can be direct equity investments. Direct equity, I always recommend that you should go for blue chip companies. So somebody might ask me, what is blue chip company? Blue chip companies are companies which have a very, very long track record of existence. I can tell a few companies, including SDFC Bank is a blue chip share in this market. SDFC Limited, housing loan company, is a blue chip share. Infosys is a blue chip share. ITC is a blue chip share. TCS is a blue chip share. Similarly, you have quite a few blue chip shares. You can see the Bombay Sensitive Index is BSE Sensex is actually comprising the weighted average of 30 stocks, which is quoted in that in that market. Out of the about 800 or 900 stocks, 30 stocks have been selected, and that is slightly dynamic. It changes in between, depending on the performance of the company and other things. And Nifty 50, that the name itself tells 50 companies are there, whose weighted average is the Nifty, that is National Stock Exchange, NSE index is comprised out of. So of the companies which are coming under this category can be termed as blue chip companies. You can have a different way of looking at this also, finding out this also. If at all you come across mutual fund fact sheets, so every month each mutual fund comes out with a fact sheet, especially balanced fund and growth fund and all those things. They will tell what percentage of investments they have done in their portfolio, how much percentage has been invested in each segment and each company. So probably you can take 2-3 different mutual fund fact sheets and identify the first 5 companies in each segment and make a list of 15 companies, probably sort it according to your interest and make it 4 or 5, and then make a beautiful portfolio of 5 or 6 companies in different segments. When you make a portfolio like that, you have to ensure that you industrially these companies are different. Like they'll not be from the same sector. You can have IT sector, you can have FMCG, you can have consumer durables or infrastructure or banking or different type of. So in different segments you need to bifurcate, as it is told, not to keep all eggs in one basket. It's a very popular and a common and very old saying whenever people are talking about finance and banking. So you don't keep all eggs in one basket. So let us spread our risk in different companies. So I have told like that. Then the balance around 20% of your investments can be in debt funds and related mutual fund portfolios, or even in gold, or even in consumer durables. Consumer durables, even car and other things, it's only depreciated. It doesn't accumulate wealth for you. It is a wealth when you buy it. When you are talking about a car, the car you buy it, if it comes out of the showroom, it attracts a depreciation of 20%. A car you buy from the showroom at 10 lakh rupees, you drive for one day, next day if you want to sell it, ideally you can expect only 8 lakh rupees, because it's already the person who is going to buy it again from you is going to be a second owner of the car. So it attracts so everything, such consumer durables, everything actually attracts depreciation except house, and probably to a certain extent gold. Of course, gold is not to be treated as a consumer durable item. So that is how it is planned. So you should you can have that 20% portfolio in different companies. When I told about the blue chip companies, I have been one of my friends asked some time back, what is that? Some small value shares are being recommended by different different portfolio managers for investments. but small value are small value because that company is not doing well. It's a very, very comfortable or very evident reason that why a share is being traded at a very low value, because the company is not doing well. Had the company been doing well or its assets have been good, naturally the share price should be up. But not more than 5 to 10% of your investment in the equity-related investments in such thing. But I think major 90% of your investment, I recommend, my personal recommend. Am I audible? I think there is some internet disturbance.
Yes,
Yes,
it's
audible
audible.
now.
I personally recommend that 90% of your investments should be in blue chip funds, unless and otherwise, and probably after a period of time you start investing in this type of segment for 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, then probably you get some idea about doing some risk. When people drive, when children are driving bicycles, you hold hard. I mean, you firmly hold on to the handle when you bicycle, when you pedal it. But after some time, after 1 year, 2 years, or probably 6 months, when you are so comfortable, even you can see children riding the bicycle without holding hands on the handle. So that is possible. So when you are so much comfortable with the market and so much you feel that you are able to predict the market in a reasonable way, probably you can take a little more risk. That, of course, that risk taking capacity or appetite, automatically develops within you over a period of time. So, but I personally recommend that these are the precautions we have to take when we are actually going into equity market. There's another thumb rule for equity market investments. For direct equity, it's generally some thumb rule like thing. It is told that you have to reduce your age from 100. So if a person of 40 years can have a 60% exposure on equity, a person of 50 years can have a maximum of 50% exposure on equity. So that way, we have to ensure our equity exposure on our investments is restricted to a certain extent, so that even if, as it is told now, before somewhere in this last 10 days of March and in the first 10 days of April, we have seen a bloodbath in our stock market in India. The stock markets, the indices came down by around 40%. So imagine a person who is having a portfolio of 10 crore rupees in stock market. His assets would have depleted by 4 crores. He would have been left with an asset of 6 crores. There is no doubt why people are committing suicide all of a sudden. So this can happen. So let us not give so much of exposure of our money in equity, because it has inherent risk. But as I told, if you take a 10-year segment, we have seen that stock market in India goes up by around 13%, while the banking interest rates are currently roaming around 6% or 5.5%. Stock markets in the current year also, it is even with this COVID situations, creating a lot of havoc. After the real downfall in March and April, it has started slowly climbing up, and it is almost, not exactly, but maybe around, it has recovered. It has come up to around 85 to 90% of the pre-COVID levels. And as per, again, Aditya Puri, he's telling that the business is almost normal. So the markets are likely to probably bounce back if the global conditions improve in the COVID tackling situation. So these are the things which I would like to mention. I think I have taken much more than the time which was allotted to me. As it is told now, when things are interesting, we try to, as ladies are going into a jewelry shop, they spend a lot of money on gold, even if they spend on credit cards and all those things. So similarly, when I start speaking about finance, I also likely to do some control over my timing. Okay, I apologize for that. And I think there are a few questions in the chat which I'll try to come out with. So controllable expenditure, fuel costs, okay, that's okay. There is a thin line between controllable and uncontrollable expenditure. They are doing it for the purpose. I mean, life purpose. Okay, fine. Do you think greed has a role to play in saving money? There's absolutely no doubt. Money is needed, as Mahatma Gandhi has told. There is everything for need, but we don't have. We have inadequate things for greed. So there is always a greed behind money. But the most unfortunate thing is that most of the people who accumulate money for greed doesn't use it. Recently, there was an incident in my native place. A person who was supposed to give 33 square feet of land for a public organization, which he was also a part of, he refused to give. That was a part of his compound, which was extending to 3 acres of land. He was asked to give 33 square feet of land, 3 square meters of land, which has no road access. It was actually in some corner of his property. For a public institution, this was asked for constructing a bathroom for a school in that area. And the interesting thing is that this person who is owning the 3-acre property was in the administrative committee of that school. And he was there in the administrative committee of the school for the last 17 years. And he was one of the office bearers of that school. And he refused to give. And he was offered huge money for that, about 50,000 rupees for 33 square feet of land, which will work out to about 7 lakh rupees per cent. And in a corner of a village, he has been offered that money, but he didn't succumb to that. So, I mean, he didn't agree to surrender that sort of land to the the school. Ultimately, unfortunately, rather, he passed away about 3-4 months back. So we all went to the funeral, and I was also there in the funeral along with the president of the school administrative committee. So after the funeral, when his pyre was already lit, and then I told the president, why couldn't we go and just check that area which he has refused to give to the school, whether it is still there or whether he has taken it away when he has gone away from this world. So people were just smiling, thinking, and that person, in fact, the person who has refused to give that 33 square feet of land to the school had a total property of 10 acres of land. And so that is something which I am telling. So greed is something which plays a huge role when, as far as accumulation of money is concerned. And thing which I have observed in people is that those who accumulate money with greed never uses it. And somebody else, and even Khalil Gibran, I know, I think I should, when I stop it, I think I should use that quoting of Khalil Gibran. Khalil Gibran says, Khalil Gibran, I think, is a Persian poet is a Lebanese person, a Persian poet who has told that whatever money you have needs to be given here itself, because when you go, you cannot take the money back home, into your heaven. So if you don't give it now, the prerogative of giving that money, spending that money, becomes the option of your inheritors. So you work hard, you struggle hard, you starve, and you make a lot of money. And finally, what is the big deal in giving that money to somebody else who is not at all concerned about all these things, who will luxuriously, fight off? So greed is a very critical thing which we need to address when you are talking about money. Do you think we will see trend change regarding the investments of an average Malayali in immediate future, especially the post-COVID era? I think there should be a trend change, a positive trend change. We have seen people in Kerala or across the globe who has become totally helpless. So I was thinking, somebody bought a Lamborghini some time back, 5 crore rupee car in my place, that is in Kottayam district in Kerala. He bought it almost a month before this COVID has hit us. 5 crore rupees car, he's not able to use it outside. It is still lying in his garage. Of course, now I think that has been relaxed. As it is told, somebody has accumulated 500 sovereigns of gold for his daughter's marriage. But for the daughter's marriage, he was not able to invite not even 20 people from outside. So where is this money going? So what is the need of this sort of accumulation of wealth? I think it's high time that we start thinking, what is this money for? As I told, money is what money does. I almost started with the statement that money is what money does. So if the money doesn't do anything for you, what is the big deal in accumulating money? What is the big deal in having money? So money should work for you. As I told, at some point of time, money should work for you. At some point of time, it should give you comfort. At some point of time, it should help you to survive. At some point of time, it should be a healthy investment. At some point of time, it is something valuable which can be given to the others. And as we all know, as even the Alexander the Great also has shown, when we go out of this world, nobody takes anything with him. So let us earn money and let us spend it also. Let us do it in such a way as Disha actually is made for that, to do good work, philanthropy, to see that the people around us are also benefited by the money we make. So that's what I want to give a message. My ideas, which I was sharing, there can be disputes, there can be difference of opinion, there can be disagreements, which I personally heartily and comfortably will agree with. But I have, whatever I have told here, I have practiced in my life. I have gone across, gone through my life with all this type of, money-related matters. I have struggled with a lot of wrong informations, because there was nobody to guide me when I started investing in stock markets in 1988, 32 years back. So the people around me was equally ignorant and mischievous like me, miserable like me, who has absolutely no idea about stock market. And somebody tells you buy this, and somebody tells you sell this, you do whatever they want, and finally you lose a lot of money. Fortunately, I could slowly learn something from the market, and I understand that stock market is a good option for a youngster to invest. And even now, the exposures we need to handle. It is very critical that you control your exposure in different segments of the stock market, because otherwise we can be in trouble. So you should keep definitely this contingency fund, which is very, very critical, and insurance covers for life as well as for health. That is very, very critical, because the family should not suffer when all of a sudden something goes wrong with the earning member of the family. Can you explain about bonds? How can avail this via banks? Bonds we can actually buy from the market, from brokers. Only thing is that the bonds usually, it gets credited in your Demat account. I have not told about Demat account. I think Demat account is a dematerialized account, which actually accounts for the shares transaction, the shares and related capital market transactions. Like we have a rupee account where we handle our savings or fixed deposit in rupee terms in banks. Demat account is kept with some designated brokers or banks or security companies, where these shares and the capital market investments instruments are being accounted. So it is easy to buy, but I always recommend you to have some checking with a broker or a financial advisor. And if at all somebody wants a help, I can direct to a few of my friends who are actually very reliable and very efficient and very supportive in dealing with activities. So I can just give my mobile number in India. I'm just putting it in our this thing in chat. I have two numbers. One is for call and the other one is for WhatsApp. There can be some connectivity issues for that WhatsApp number if at all somebody calls me up in in that number. But mostly 24/7 I'm available over phone. Usually I don't keep my telephone, and mobile phone off in off position. But as it is told, the connectivity is not omnipresent or omnipotent. So we have to bear with that. So I think I have covered whatever I have planned to do. Any questions? I'm ready to take. So I'm keeping the forum open.
Members can ask in any language, English, Hindi, or Malayalam. Is it not so, Pradeep ji?
Yeah, I'm fine. Hindi. The questions in Hindi, I'll try to answer in English or Malayalam because my Hindi may not be all that comfortable because I am afraid whether it will mislead somebody when I talk, when I doesn't use appropriate terms when I'm talking in Hindi.
So for asking questions, language should not be a barrier.
Yeah.
We have a new question in the chat box.
Yeah.
How do you think an average person can start planning financially and can plan towards investment who has never done it before when the market itself is unstable? I mean, nothing is stable ever, but still.
Yeah. Interesting question from, I think the person might be an youngster, I'm not sure. We can start planning. First, there's something which I always used to tell, that measure what matters. We have to measure what matters. So if you have a challenge, we need to measure. If you have to go to a place, we need to know what is the kilometer which you are going to travel. If you're going to take a ticket, if you're going to fly to India, you need to find out what is the cost of the ticket. So similarly, if you're going to invest, we need to measure what we are going to invest or why we are going to invest. So first, as I told, we should know what is our income, what is our expenditure, what is our surplus. So basically, we have to do some homework before we actually go for an investment. So first, let us go on accumulating money. So let all the income fall or get pulled up in one account, and you go on spending from the account. Then you find that after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you have some surplus there. Probably you review what is happening in the income side and what is happening in the expenditure side. You will know what is the real accumulation of money. From that, we can start with fixed deposits. As I told now, some contingency fund is the first and foremost thing which one should have. So let us go in for this bank-related, some savings balances, some fixed deposits. And whenever we are talking about mutual funds or equity investments, one thing we should keep in mind is that those investments are not for short-term investments, except for liquid funds, liquid mutual funds. All other investments should be for a long-term view, with a long-term view. I have seen, if at all you review the stock market situations, we can see more than 90% of the time, every 3 years, the market is going up. That means if you want to buy something today and if you want to sell it after a period of 3 months, 95%, you will be able to sell it at a profit. And if you take a 5-year horizon, almost 100% times, 100% of the situation, you will be able to sell it at a profit. Unless and otherwise you have that company goes totally bad or faces some serious issues. For example, Yes Bank. Yes Bank is one of the Indian private sector banks which had very serious issues in the recent past because of so much of hierarchy and the internal thing, which I don't want to discuss much about that. The company which was actually quoting in hundreds of rupees is quoted at 12 rupees now. That's a very unfortunate thing. But as it is told, let us not go into companies which are not all that stable. But at times the markets will come down. That's for sure. So we should have that in mind. Not like a fixed deposit where you get a fixed rate of interest, 5.5 or 6% on your investment. But if you are investing in stock market, you should have a long-term view. so that within a period of 3 years or 5 years, whatever shortcomings or shortfalls are there, it gets cushioned off, and finally you come out in a profitable situation. So to start the investment, I always will recommend you to go into some mutual funds, which is giving a balanced fund. That is where they have portfolios allotted in a balanced manner. If I start talking about that, probably it will take much more time. So you can invest in small lots. It's called SIP. That is systematic money for another 5 years, 6 years, 10 years down the line, and probably that will accumulate to a large amount of savings. Am I audible? I think again I'm showing some.
Yes,
It's
you're
audible.
audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend. I used to talk about his recently. He was my colleague sometime back, maybe in 2007. He came and kept a paper on my table, on my office table, and he's my colleague. He was a junior colleague of mine, and told, "Sir, I am extremely convinced about the power of compounding." I have not told about that because then I think I'll be going away from the basic things. So power of compounding is where you go on investing, and then the investments multiply in a compounding manner, like compounding interest and other things, which will actually give you huge returns. So this person told me, "Sir, I'm going to invest in this type of mutual funds and all." Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yeah. So and one day I'll come and keep a check of 1 crore rupees in front of you. He told in 2007. So I have been periodically, whenever I talk to him, and he has subsequently left my bank. Then he was in UAE. I think he's in UAE for the last about 3 years or so. So when I have been talking to him, maybe in 2018 February, when I talked to him, his total investments, that is from 2007 to 2018, he has been investing continuously in these type of mutual funds and related financial instruments, and his total asset has gone up to 45 lakh rupees. Imagine, 45 lakh rupees. And in between, he has constructed a house. He has taken a loan and purchased a house. So that much investment he has done separately, but still, because of the systematic investment of money, he has accumulated that sort of wealth. And I'm sure maybe in 2021 or 22, he will reach that level of 1 crore investment. So it's a systematic investment is very critical. So when the markets can be unstable at some point of time, there's nothing to worry about it. And that is the normal situation of the market. As if we get some sneezing or coughing or cold or headache in between. That doesn't mean that a person of normal health, they'll continue to do. So nothing to worry about that. Markets will be unstable. But having said so, my initial statement is that we should have more, in the initial stage, more focus should be on the bank and related safe deposits, safe portfolio of deposits, and slowly we can you can move on to the equity portfolio where the risk is fairly high. What is the future of interest rates in the bank? Ideally, the interest rates should come down, but recently we have seen an uptrend in the inflation rates. So unless and otherwise RBI decide to change the rates, the rates are not likely to firm up immediately because the trend is downtrend. I think 2 days before I have seen State Bank of India offering 6.9% for housing loans, 6.9%. I think SDFC Limited is giving 6.95%. So naturally, we cannot expect a fixed deposit rate beyond 5.5 to 6% because nobody will be able to operate with such a thin margin for these type of loans. So ultimately, in the current situation, I don't immediately see a surge or an uptrend in the interest rates because the government also is keen to bring it down to make it more, more and more down, basically because that funds should not stay in banks. It should ideally get invested. When the interest rates for loans also come down, the tendency of people to take loan for business also is more. So it actually creates an activity which will be ultimately positively influencing the economy of the country. So, what is your opinion about invest in a flat? Okay, investing in a flat is a very difficult question to answer. I think in Cochin, there's a Tata set of flats by Tata in Cochin, near the High Court. If I know it correctly, sometime before, maybe a year or so before, or even a year and a half before, it was quoted, one normal flat was quoting around 2 to 2.25 crores. I know a friend of mine has bought a flat about 1.5 years before for that price. A similar flat was bought by another friend of mine at 1.6 crores now. And I think it is still going at a discount of another 10 lakh rupees. It's going to be around 1.5 crores. I don't know exactly whether these flats are comparably placed or their location is exactly comparable, but all these three purchases have happened in the same complex of that. So investment in a flat, I always feel that if you are able to stay in a flat, you should buy a flat. Investing in a flat at this present scenario may not be very wise, depending on, but having said so, I cannot concretely tell that it is not a good investment, but it depends on what are the other investments you have. So if you have, if the person who is going to do investment in a flat has other liquid investments, other investments in banks or mutual funds or equity or gold or different portfolios or different financial instruments or in different business, then diverting some amount into real estate is not an issue. So it all depends on what is the amount you are earmarking to buy a flat. What is the amount of your total assets getting into the flat. So if somebody is having totally 1 crore rupees with them and is going to buy a flat for 90 lakh rupees, maybe it will create a temporary stress for his liquidity. So, so investing in a flat, basically, I feel is good when you are staying in a flat, in that flat. If it is useful for you, because you save on the rent and you enjoy the facilities of the flat. But if you are investing in a flat and giving on rent to somebody, they will have the the enjoyment of it. But having said so, as a person with a 10 crore portfolio, there's no big deal in having investing in 80 lakh rupees or 1 crore rupee in a flat.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me just a brief about cryptocurrency?
It's a highly controversial thing as of now. In between, it has been banned, and then it's an alternate currency for that matter. It's an alternate currency, which is not US dollar, which is not Indian rupees, which is not gold, but it is actually managed by a few set of people. So since it is not managed by such an authorized country or market or something like that, and there is no specific market, to the best of my knowledge, there is no specific market for the cryptocurrency as now. And at some point of time, these currencies are being overvalued by like anything, and then some legal issues came and somebody started selling it and somebody committed suicide. Some people are in debt trap and all those things. So a lot of uncertainties and ambiguities, and I have also very limited knowledge because usually I don't prefer to attach to tainted things. And these are all, I feel that cryptocurrency is not that legal, except for some countries, I think it's okay. But as of now, it is not that comfortable in India. So I personally, first thing, basically, the thing is that I'm not all that aware about the movement of that currency, who is handling it. And basically, these type of things are now used by highly, people with a lot of money and maybe a lot of black money or a lot of illegal connections, and the people who are into different anti-social related activities. I don't think genuine people are interested and invested. They do invest in cryptocurrency. As of now, I really don't know about that. Having said so, we have so many opportunities available in our country where we can invest well and get good returns. But again, as it is, I have been telling as a thumb rule, when the risk is when the return is high, the risk is also very high. So it is our comfort. What should be the level of risk which we take for our own money? So that is so to keep in different baskets with different returns with the different risk levels. I think it will give a good meal. We have a different sadhya with sweet and karam and salt and all those things put together. It gives a sumptuous meal for us, comfortable meal for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Any questions more?
Pradeep, hi, this is Sudhil.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about monthly income plan, mutual fund?
Monthly income plan.
Yes, there is something called monthly income plan in mutual fund, right?
Yeah. Say any monthly return is a percentage of the dividend they are giving in a monthly thing. So we have seen a lot of companies telling, I'm giving you pension, I'm giving you this, that. Everything is the dividend they are paying in different, sugar-coated installments. So, for example, if a company is making 10% net return on, or they are able to distribute 10% return, and if you want it in monthly installments, they'll give 0.8% every month. Finished. So that is how it is.
Okay.
So monthly income plan is that you have a portfolio. So when you go on investing in a mutual fund, they actually take money from you, and as per the current rate available for each unit in the of the fund, they'll give you or they'll credit you that sort of units within your account. For example, if a unit is costing 15 rupees and you are giving 1,500 rupees, so you will be credited with 100 units in that month. Next month you put again 1,500 rupees, and that time the price is 16 rupees. So you will get, instead of 100, you may get something like 95 units. Like that it goes on. And once you are given 1,000 rupees out of this fund, and at that particular day, when this redemption happens, if the amount, if the unit price of that fund is say 15.5 rupees, so they will they will sell off that many units from the fund and then pay you that 1,000 rupees. That's how it is. So it is a systematic income plan, or systematic withdrawal plan also is there. You can fix the time if you have an accumulated portfolio with say 10 lakh rupees or 20 lakh rupees, 50 lakh rupees there. You can always tell that I want 20,000 rupees every month. So the money will come to your account every month. Only thing is that your the number of units you are having in the portfolio will get corrected according to that. And corrected in the sense, the price also will go up and go down as per the market conditions. But the number of units you hold will be reduced whenever some redemption happens. It goes up as per your investment in the portfolio. So, but anyway, monthly income plan is just like is basically on. There are a couple of mutual funds which gives around 1% monthly return. One is from SDFC mutual fund. Another one, I think, is Edelweiss is also giving some similar thing. But I don't know because of because since the markets are not doing in such a way that the return is more than 12% in a year. I don't know. Giving 1% per month, it can actually what do you call deplete your total investment also slightly, because I think the mutual funds are growing around 9 to 10%, and if they are paying out 12% to the investor, naturally there will be a 2% hit on the the net asset value of your investment.
Thank you,
How do-
Pradeep.
Yeah, another question. Yeah, Sunil, anything else? I mean, am I?
No, it was really interesting. It is. It was really enlightening, and it's it's interesting not only for the youngsters but also oldies like us. So it was really very good. Thank you.
You're not quite old compared to me.
Getting old. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sunil. Another question I have: how do you think a person can plan towards buying a house of his own with an average salary? As such, for a person who cannot afford to take loans currently? It's a very tricky question. To accumulate a house, especially in Kerala, we have a general trend of having independent houses, except in major district headquarters or major cities. The flat culture is not very common in the semi-urban segments or semi-urban areas in the state. So planning towards buying a house or any asset for that matter, even if you want to buy a car or anything for that matter, I always feel that our own investment should be not less than 20% of the total investment. If you are going for an investment of 25 lakhs, I personally feel that we should not take a loan. That's my personal feeling. There's no rule for that. We should not take more than 80% of the loan. Most of the car financing companies are giving 100% loans, and 100% loan is a very risky affair for even them. The attachment of the person for the particular asset will be very less when they don't have a stake in this. So I think now the person who is asking this question should really go for slowly accumulating his investments in recurring deposits or small systematic investment plan, SIP, investment plan in mutual funds, which will give an average return of mutual funds will give an average return of 9% of something like that over a period of time till you achieve a level of comfort when you can avail some sort of finance from any financial company. But having said so, it is not advisable to take loans from some private lenders who charge you heavily on that. I have seen recently, I have visited a private financing company near to my place because one of my friends was posted as the branch manager of that company. So when I asked them, they told that they mainly survive by giving housing loans. By giving gold loans. And when I asked, they told that the interest rate for gold loans is 21 to 24%, 21% to 24% per annum. But I know in public sector banks, gold loans for general category gold loans are available at 8% or less than 8%, around 7.6%, 7.7% you get loans. So I don't understand why people are going to such a private lender and paying 4 times additional interest. So this is where the prudence of investment comes in, prudence of financial this thing, what do you call it, in handling of finance. So people have to shop around and find out which is the best way of getting a loan, which is the cheapest way of getting a loan, which is the most comfortable way of getting a loan, where your burden of repayment is the lowest. I know people who go to showrooms. They check for sandals or different items, and they check for the price, check for the model, how it looks like, all those things, then keep it back on the shelf. Come home, open their laptop and order it in Amazon. So that's how the world is like. So the world is when the competition increases, the people also get smarter to handle competition, and people really leverage on their capacity to get it from new places. That's where competition is playing. About a month before, I have gone to SDFC Limited for a housing loan, not for me, in fact, for a relative of mine who wanted my presence to discuss with them. And they told that he already has a loan, and that loan can be restructured in such a way that the interest rate comes down to 6.95%. So he had to pay a small fee for that, 6.95%. So I thought that 6.95% is extremely good. 2 days before, I saw the advertisement of State Bank of India paper, in newspaper. Basically, I think it is in view of the Diwali festival coming up in India, and they have offered that the housing loan is available at 6.9%. So it doesn't, is coming down. That's what I'm telling. So gold loan, when it is available at 7.65%, I have inquired this about 3 months back in Canara Bank near to my place. So I really don't understand why people are going to this private financing companies and taking a gold loan at 22%, 23%, which is almost 3 to 4 times where you pay the money in a public sector bank. Process of the person who is coming here to a public sector bank, it will take 3 hours for the loan, but here you give in 2 minutes. But 2 minutes and 3 hours, is it for a person of is it worth is it that costly? So I have no answer for that, because people are trying to get it easily, but they are not really worried about the interest rate which is happening around. For two-wheeler loans, it is like that. When you take two-wheeler loans, the loans are being sold at very high interest rates. Credit cards. The credit cards are normally, if you are taking the credit as such, real credit, that it actually charges around 30% per annum. Nobody knows about it. They simply use it. And if you negotiate, probably they'll bring it up to 24%. But credit cards are very costly. Where you get a normal gold loan, as I told you, you get for less than 8%. You get a housing loan for less than 7%. You get a car loan for 8 or 8.25%. Then why people run around and give 20%, 25% interest rate? That is something which I really don't understand. Probably people need to consult people, those who are able to guide them properly. That's what I feel. Okay, anything else? Some more questions? There is a trick from private bank. They announce the rate in terms of month, normal people. Yes. So even credit card for that matter, the interest rates is told that 1.95% per month or 2.4% per month. 2.4% per month is almost 29% per year. Very simple. 1.95% is 23.4% per annum, and people doesn't understand. And even I have seen advertisements. These are all, that's why I'm telling the advertisements. The media is making a lot of havoc and misleading people. Poor people who doesn't understand things. You get 1 lakh rupee loan and you pay 300 rupees a month or 200 rupees a day, something like that. So the person doesn't know how to calculate, and then they are taking the advantage of it. When people doesn't know mathematics, these mathematicians actually rule the world.
There is one more question in the chat box.
Yeah.
20 years from now, what will be the inflation in India, and what should be the monthly income for an average family in 2040?
Oh, it's a very, very difficult question to answer, because if you see 20 years before in 2000, the inflation rate would have been, I think, something like 10%. And the US dollar price was much lower. Everything was totally different. So it's totally unpredictable. I'm not in a position to tell. But the way it goes, it increases, the salary structure and other things increases. In 15 years, it doubles. 10 to 15 years, it doubles. Sometimes it is more. It all depends on the inflation rate. It all depends on the government policies. That's what I'm telling. Basically, it depends on government policies. And something like a demonetization comes, then the whole thing gets unpredictable, because it has a major impact on the economy, the circulation of money, the thinking about money. But I think even after COVID, the thinking about money is also changing. I was also thinking, what is we have to redefine wealth. What is wealth? Wealth is more of health now. And you don't have, even if you have so much of money in your bank, or as I told you, you buy a Lamborghini and don't drive it. You have a diamond set of ornaments which is less, which is worth 20 lakhs, and you keep it in your locker. So what is the big deal in purchasing that? And you cannot even go out to a restaurant to have a good food, because restaurants are closed. You cannot go to some exotic place for a vacation because no flights are operating. You cannot take a car and go to Munnar or some Uti or some place for a vacation because all resorts are closed. So what is the big deal in having so much of money with you? So money is something which money has to do. As I told, money is what money does. And if money doesn't do for you, well, that's you have to think what the money should do for you. Well, so 2040, I am not able to give a prediction because definitely since the inflation is positive in India, and if you look back 20 years back and the current situation, I think it should be something like 2.5 to 3 times what we are having now.
There are a few more questions. So is it not advisable to acquire a credit card at all from any bank?
It is essentially required you should have a credit card. Using a credit card is the problem. We have electricity in our house, but if you're going to keep your finger into the plug hole, then you are in trouble. So similarly, you should have a credit card. I am having 2 credit cards with me, but I never pay the interest on credit cards because I have given an instruction to the bank to debit my account on the due date, whatever has been used up to the card on the previous billing cycle. So using a credit card should be a prudent exercise. So what I'm telling, if you have a credit card, the financing company, the credit card issuing company, actually there are 2 important dates when you are handling a credit card. One is that billing date, and the other one is the payment due date. So normally the billing date, so the payment due date is 20 days after the billing date. For example, if I use the card in September 2020 and the billing is on 15th of October, so I can from 16th of September to 15th of October, whatever I use, whatever expenditure I incur on the card will be billed on the 15th October billing cycle. And I need to pay, I need to set off, ideally I need to set off the full amount. If I do to set off that full amount by 5th of November, which will be which can be the due date for payment, then I need not pay any interest. I need not pay any interest. That means that credit is totally free for you. That's why the maximum amount duration of credit which is available on a credit card is about 50 days, and the minimum is around 20 days. So as I told, the example is something like this. So if your billing is on a 15th of a month, that means the 16th of the previous month to 15th of that particular month, whatever expenses you have incurred on the credit card will be billed on 15th. And the due date of payment for the total amount will be ideally on 5th of subsequent month. So if you pay the full amount on 5th of November, then no charges will be levied on you. But if you prefer to pay some, say if your total spend on this card is 10,000 rupees, and if you want to pay only 5,000 rupees, the balance 5,000 rupees will start attracting interest. Then each purchase subsequent to that will attract interest. Then you are in a real trap. Then you start paying 24%, 28%, 30% interest on those spends. And if you withdraw cash from the ATM using a credit card, immediately as the cash comes out, the meter runs. From that immediate time, the interest rate starts running. Thing is that interest rate doesn't attract only for that cash withdrawal, but all the related purchases happening in that card. So it is prudent. So one has to watch the billing cycle. So if you have a major expenditure, as I'm telling, say if the billing cycle is from 16th of a month to 15th of next month, for example, 15th of October. If your bill has been generated on 15th of October, and if you want to buy something for 25,000 rupees, I recommend you to do it on 16th or 17th of October. So that you need to pay that money only on 5th of December. You need not pay enough. If you buy it on 14th of October, you have to pay that money on 5th of November. If you buy it on 16th or 17th of, or that means after the billing date, then you need to pay on the next month, subsequent month. That means you get 50 days credit. So that's how you should use the credit card. That's what I'm telling you. So you should use it prudently. If you use it prudently, it is fine. It's like using a two-wheeler. If you have a good balance and care, if you drive it carefully, it's a beautiful, enjoyable drive. But if you really make fun of it, then nobody can help it. So I have been using credit card for the last 20 years, and I have never ever paid a single pay in charges for in the financing company. So credit card is definitely advisable because any immediate requirement for from hospital bill or purchase or whatever it is, a credit card is required. And you should keep the limit in such a way that it is affordable to you, it is manageable to you.
Well, there are a couple of questions more. Actually need to nurture a culture of investment with proper guidance. Sir, is it possible for the next generation?
The culture of investment and finance, I mean, the outlook for finance is changing from generations to generation. Because the previous generation of my previous generation, they were so much of what you call cautious about money. So they were trying to accumulate in different, by buying land, by keeping in banks and all those things. And most of the people died off without using, as I told. But in my generation, I think at least some people are spending some money before they call it a day. But the younger generation, because of the availability, maybe availability of jobs. So when I was young, at the age of 20, 25, there was a very acute unemployment in the state or in the country. So getting a job was not all that easy. And people who got a job, they were thinking that they will continue their job till they die or probably they'll retire. So I joined in Reserve Bank of India in 1983. So in the initial first training session, most of the discussions were happening. What will happen when we become 60 years old or 58 years old? What will be our salary? What happened? Just about 20 months later, I resigned from that bank. And interestingly, 1 or 2 persons are still in Reserve Bank of India in Trivandrum who joined with me in 1983. But subsequently, the whole culture of job changed. Though I belong to a slightly older generation now, I have changed 5 jobs in the meantime. Now the people who are youngsters, my children's generation, in 5 years' time they change 6 jobs. So jobs are easily available. So the tendency of saving also has changed because the money is more easy to them. And even if they lose a job, they can skip over something else. They can do different type of jobs. Sales jobs is easily available. That no opportunity. Either you should be a school teacher, or you should be a government employee, or you should be a bank employee. Nothing else. There was no private firms available. There was no Infosys. There was no SDFC Bank. There was no what do you call it, the private LICs or Vodafone or Reliance or Idea and all those things. Even Maruti was not there. This type of Honda was not there. So now the opportunities are very high. So naturally, the culture of investment, culture of saving, culture of money among people have changed. Is it advisable for a person with unstable income can invest in mutual funds? It can be. It can be. It depends on what is the level of instability in the investment. Because if you have a minimum of, say, for example, the maximum income is, say, from business, somebody gets a minimum of 25,000 rupees a month and a maximum of 50,000 rupees a month. So thinking that you get not less than 25,000 rupees in a month, you can make sufficient investment. And whenever you have more money coming in, probably you can invest as a lump sum instead of a systematic investment plan. You can put that money as a lump sum investments in mutual funds. So that is possible. Creating awareness is required, but creating awareness of investments are not really by taking a class. We all learn better. We have all learned to walk after falling 2-3 times. We have all learned cycling after falling 2-3 times. Those who know swimming, I am 100% sure would have had at least 2-3 gulps of water while trying to swim. So creating an awareness is possible, but creating the real awareness comes when you really jump into this type of things and get a real feel about what is happening around. But it is possible, but with some proper guidance, the risk and the loss can be brought down, and probably that learning also becomes more and more interesting and challenging. It's challenging, but it will be more and more interesting to take up the challenges. Yeah. Any more questions?
If anyone else would like to raise any questions, they can do so now.
I think no questions is coming up. I have really enjoyed this about 2.5 hour session with you. It has been extremely interesting and enriching for me also, because many questions actually make me think how it is, why it is, and things like that. So I'm happy.
Pradeep, it was really informative. Pradeep, I have been listening quietly. So you have explained things in a very simple language and very good examples also you have given. Overall, it was a very informative and excellent talk.
Srikumar is my very old friend from IOB and then HDFC Bank. He's currently settled down in Bombay. Now presently has come to Kerala for his because of this lockdown and other things. And he's a close friend of mine. He was recently visited me also. We used to discuss about this financial planning and financial matters quite often and quite in detail. So thanks, Sri, for your presence. It's really enjoyable with you here.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
So if there are no more questions, let us wind up the session.
Good evening, everybody. When this question of having a session on financial investment came up in Disha, as far as Disha is concerned, our motto we have titled as welfare of the society and welfare of the members. Especially in the current scenario, when we are facing a lot of economic challenges, then the discussion came that why can't we have a session on proper investments? Then the first name came to my mind is of Pradeep Ji. Even though we are related nearly more than 30 years, since the last 3-4 years, I am constantly in touch with him. And I suggested that why can't we have a session from him? Now, we had I would say a brilliant session, starting from what should be the financial goal of a person, what is the difference between expenses which can be controlled and non-controlled, and what are all the investment opportunities. Within this such a short period, I don't think anybody could explain it such a brilliant manner that what should be the financial goal of an individual and how he can make the savings. Pradeep Ji, on behalf of Disha, I would like to thank you so much for this session. And I think all our members have benefited out of it. And I would like to add one more thing is that the best feature of this session was that the 35 years of experience which Pradeep Ji had in his career, plus he himself is a good investor. For the last, as he has told, for the last 30 years, he was doing the investments, and the experience he has gained from that investment, that is what he was sharing with us. So it is a foolproof suggestions what he has given, that I can vouch for that. Coming to the end of the session, I would also thank Krishna Priya for giving a good anchoring for the program. And it is a unique feature that a daughter is anchoring for her father. It was a good experience for us. I would suggest that Krishna Priya can take it as a part-time job also, anchoring for the programs in the future. And I would like all the members for patiently hearing the speech of Mr. Pradeep Kumar, and also raising the questions, relevant questions, I would say, relevant questions, so that everybody will be benefited out of it. And I would like to thank Disha committee members also for giving all the support to conduct this program. And thank you all. Thank you for the wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. So any further questions and other things, you can direct. I have already shared my number, or you can direct through Mr. Ajit, so that I can share my views on that. And I also will gain by getting different type of questions on different thoughts and different plans and of different people across the world. So thank you once again. Very interesting session for me also, because I have been brushing up my my plans and learnings and about this financial segment. Thank you very much.
So we are
Thank
expecting
you.
more
We'll add you on WhatsApp. Thank you very much.
So we are expecting more sessions from you, Pradeep Ji.
Yeah, we can do on banking. We can do on big issues like I can speak on how to take a housing loan. What are the things you have to check when you are buying a house?
Correct.
Or different type of other investments. A little more details about it.
Sure.
That you can think about in future whenever it is available, possible, and all those things.
Sure. We'll keep in touch and we'll have more sessions from you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.